Hello and welcome to Gaelic Football Views on CavanTV.com.
Welcome to this evening's show here at the hotel in the Dublin Road in Cavan.
It's called the Cavan
Crystal Hotel. We had a massive weekend of football here in Cavan. We're going to start off, I suppose, with the Cully's Craft Bakery Junior Championship playoff between Templeport and Muncher Connacht. This was to go into a semi-final spot.
Exactly. Essentially a quarter-final.
Yeah, essentially a quarter-final, I suppose, in terms. Templeport, 4 goals in 12. Muncher Connacht, 2 goals in 9. It was a 6-point win, it's a 9-point win, for Templeport. Again, a convincing win for Templeport. They're looking good so far in the championship.
They're taking the road most travelled to get to the final or semi-final, but so did Arva last year. And a lot of people are drawing the parallels between Arva and Templeport. Young age profile, you know, good quality forwards, racking up big scores and not conceding a hell of a lot either. So, you know, all roads are pointing towards Templeport. They have momentum. That's what carried, partially what carried Arva through last year. But this year, is it going to be the same for Templeport? You'd have to think that there's a good chance for them there now. Like, they had the early upset, same as Arva last year, but they bounced back, and that's a phenomenal result, because Muncher Connacht, people might forget, are operating at a higher division at the minute than Templeport. Yeah,
in the league, in the All-County Football League, they're operating in a higher division. And you know, look, we've talked about this junior championship quite a bit, and it does look like it's Templeport Cornafene's final to lose, I suppose, or championship to lose. If Templeport were like Templeport for the semi-final, they've been drawn against Mount Nugent. Cornafene have been drawn against Kilshamrocks. You know, I'd be expecting Templeport to beat Mount Nugent to go through to a final, and I'd be expecting Cornafene to come through, which semi-final against Kilshamrocks and get to a final. It'll be a tough one for Cornafene, because that's going to be two very dogged teams playing each other.
I just have a funny feeling you hit the nail on the head with Cornafene Kill. That'll be two physically strong teams. There'll be a lot of big shoulders and hard hits going in on that game. The Mount Nugent team are a big, physical, strong team, full of hard work and guts and determination. And they're not the prettiest of footballers to watch, but their effort is second to none. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, are they in a prime position now to cause an upset here? Because people are looking at it and saying the Templeport will win this game. Most people are. But I have a funny feeling just about Mount Nugent that they're sitting there and thinking, you know, we've been in this position before. We've got to junior finals, and we've come up against young boys in the past, and we've managed to put them to the sword. I don't think Mount Nugent are going to be fearing Templeport.
Look, not that there'll be fear in Templeport. You get to a semi-final on merit, but they'll have to be worried about the firepower that Templeport have. And will they be able to curtail the firepower of the half-forward line with Benjamin Kelly, Ben Kiernan, Dewey, Maguire, and then you've got Raythorne coming from the half-back line.
That's true.
You know, they've got a solid midfield as well. I just think they're a very rounded team, whereas...
The only thing is at midfield now, I was impressed with Mount Nugent at midfield, I have to say. Kieran Caffrey, for me, has been excellent. Absolutely excellent there. And then Ronan will be back for the next day. He's going to be at full forward, and he's a big, physical, strong player that will cause hassle. And we've seen Hennessy, the corner forward, and then the other one at midfield that are, you know, they're full of effort, they're full of desire. And I don't know. I do probably think Templeport should come through, and Breffni Park will suit Templeport. Big open spaces, and therefore the football should come out in it. But I have a sneaky feeling about Mount Nugent that they're capable of causing an upset here.
So they definitely are capable of causing an upset. But I'd be going with Templeport. Who would you call in that game?
I'd probably Templeport a point or two at most. A point or two is a win. But I think they should just come through. Actually, I'm actually going to sit on the fence on this one. I'm not going to make a call, because I think a rainy day could suit Mount Nugent. I think so many factors, even referee, who gets that game, what way he referees the game. You know, there's certain referees in Cavan who who
let it go,
and some of them pull up on every little thing, and it just depends. There's too many variables on that one for me that I just think, look, at Templeport should just come through it, but there's a lot of opportunity there for Mount Nugent.
Definitely, I agree with you on that. And then Cornafane and Kill, who would you be calling in this one?
Yeah, again now, and I haven't seen Cornafane or Kill this year, unfortunately. So you're going in blind. Apparently, Sean Gaffney is back for Kill and playing exceptional stuff.
On the 40 as well, I think.
On the 40. Pierce McKenna in the middle of the field. And if Sean Gaffney is on form, as we've seen him in the final 2 years ago, is there a junior player as good as him in the county? I don't think so.
Well, that's a very valid point, because he's an exceptional
I think
footballer.
he's county standard person.
He is, and he was in with the county there for a wee while.
Only for injury, actually.
Only for injury, and I think work commitments as well, may have just hampered him. But he had an injury, and he was out for quite a while.
But having said that, Cornafane on the other side, they've been in so many semi-finals now. Is it almost a Mayo thing?
Well, that's another thing as well. Yeah, like, is there this kind of a curse on Cornafane that they can't get out of that junior championship? But another thing, they've got a bit of experience in the team, but they've got a lot of youth coming through here as well. Whereas Kill Shamrocks, they'll pretty much be the same team that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. They won't have added a whole pile to it.
There
won't have been a whole pile coming through. Whereas with Cornafane, you've got the Whartons coming through.
Yes, big pluses.
Three of them playing. Yeah. There's a couple of other young players coming through in that team.
You still have the likes of Mark Johnston there, and Liam Dignan, and Aaron or Smith in goals. Mine's gone blank, but they have real good strength, and of course Barry Doyle, who on the 40 is exceptionally good for Cornafane, and is probably getting better with age, like a fine wine. But it's
Who are you going to call in that one?
I'm going to go with Cornafane. I think Cornafane will just come through it, but they will have to put somebody on Sean Gaffney, and going to have to really do very well on curtailing Gaffney. But if they do that, I think Cornafane should come through it.
So we could be looking at a Templeport Cornafane final, or we could be looking at a Mount Nugent Kill final. It'll be.
Listen, I tell you one thing, I won't be betting on it.
Oh, that's for sure.
I won't be betting on any of them games.
With the way the championship has gone so far, which we have to say, the 3 championships have been absolutely fantastic again this year. I didn't think they'd top last year, but so far they have.
Oh, they're way
all we're looking for now is 3 finals to be better than last year's 3 finals.
It's a hard one to ask for, in fairness, because last year's finals were so good. But I will say, people are talking about, isn't it great in Cavan footballs? It is progressing. The club championships are so good, but they're down to the fact that the clubs are doing great work, and the players are putting in more of an effort now than they've ever put in. Like, we've got so many young lads. We've seen the St. Pat's players this year coming into senior, intermediate and junior championship,
and all making a huge impact,
dominating games, and that's been absolutely brilliant to see. Thomas Galligan at senior championship, Lord in midfield at 18, he might be 19 years of age already. To see
Matty McKenna, Darragh Gannon,
Thomas
Dylan
Edward
Donoghue, Thomas Edward Donoghue.
Like these
just
boys,
going through the whole lot. Patrick O'Reilly from Crushing Law,
Mark and Kean Mackey, and doing a good job on Kean Mackey. Like the St. Pat's project, and sorry, not just to isolate St. Pat's. St. Pat's have been probably just that level. They're professional, them lads. But even Stuart Dunn last night from Belturbet was absolutely brilliant. And it's the young boys coming through that they seem to have the right attitude all the time.
with
Virginia with Rammer,
and it's absolutely brilliant to see it. And this is all coming from, I think it stems from success. Success breeds success. And the success of all the under-21 teams over the last few years, Cavan getting to an All-Ireland quarter-final in 2013, that has given an impetus towards these younger players to drive on and try and do better and win at college level and whatever. It's good for the county.
And it just has to be said that I was talking to a man, I was talking to my brother Kevin, and he's getting involved. He's teaching in St. Pat's College in Cavan this year, and he's getting involved with the Dalton team. But he was saying how they were in the final last year, and I had a conversation with James Brady, who was over the Dalton team at one stage, and he couldn't get over how good these footballers were. Now, James, by his own admission, wouldn't be a big football man, but he said they were coming in class acts. So that indicates that the clubs are doing the work to get them to a certain point, and then when they're going into the secondary schools, they're being brought on another bit again, and it's just, I can't overemphasize the underage coaches in Cavan, how important they are, that they're so good, and that they're obviously breeding quality footballers, and I just want to applaud them. I think they're absolutely brilliant. Well done to them.
Yeah,
well done
absolutely.
to them.
So we'll move on then from the junior championship, and after that little emotional speech, we'll move on
I have a dream.
to the Hotel Kilmore Intermediate Football Championship as well, played over the weekend. First game, Damien, saw Arva and Drung
Yes, it did.
taking on each other, and you know, it was the old cliche that didn't come true for us this week, where goals win games. Drung 3-6, Arva 18. Arva pushed to the pin of their collar here in this game. It was a real test for them against Drung.
It was an absolutely, I have to again commend Drung, because what they might lack in raw talent, they make up in effort again. Like they were extremely well organised, and Adrian Delaney has to take a massive amount of credit, because he has put a system in place that best suits Drung to get the best out of them, you know, and yet again, are they going to be beaten by a team that will probably make the intermediate final, maybe go on and win it? Coothill beat them last year
by 2 points, struggled over them.
Exactly, and this year now Arva were a little bit more convincing in the end, but the scoreline probably is well, a 1 or 2 point game was probably enough. Like Drung were thereabouts all the time. They were slightly wasteful, Arva, I have to say. They had 12 missed opportunities across the game, but so had Drung. Drung missed 9 opportunities in the second half. 4 of them dropped short, 5 went wide. So they'll be disappointed. And there was a couple of early frees that Drung missed that were crucial. You know, that really they were on top of Arva and could have hammered the issue home. They really could have. But I suppose credit has to go again to Kieran Brady from the Holla out in Arva, that when the going got tough, when they needed a leader, when they needed somebody, he stood up again. And after the game, I kind of thought, you know, we've got such a prospect here in Cavan of Kieran Brady. And I thought back, have we seen anybody like him before? And it came to me just like that. He's like Chesty was 14 years ago.
Right.
He's not. Yeah, well, 12, 13 years ago, where he's just, when Arva needs somebody, they know he's going to do it for them. And he's not just the leader in that he will drive forward for them, he'll tackle back for them. And he has something that it reminded me, and I seen it on Friday night, where the game was over. There was a minute left maybe, or 2 minutes. Arva up by 4 points or 5 at the time, and he was tackling back as tenacious as he was in the first minute, and he got the near hand in, or well, I couldn't see it clearly anyway, but he got the hand in. The ball sort of came loose, and the referee, he must have made contact with the man or whatever. Anyway, referee gave the free against him, and Kieran was so furious. He was raging that, you know, even though the game was over, they were going to win it, he still didn't want to lose that one little battle that I got my hand in properly, I wanted to get this right. Like, everything is a competition with him. And he reminded me of, we played Cavan Gales up in Terrycoyle a few years back, where Chesty was playing and we were being hammered. I think they were beating us by it was a cricket score essentially, but Joe O'Connor was doing umpire. We had a shot, sent it it was high, but it might have just tailed to the left of the goals and wide. Joe didn't get a good look at it, but considering the scoreline, he put up the white flag anyway. And Chesty went nuts on him. Just went nuts. You don't give out. Every single battle counts to him. And Kieran Brady reminds me of that. And I think if he has those qualities, they're brilliant qualities to be able to bring.
And he's going to be, he is an exceptional footballer at the moment. If his attitude stays the same and he brings that on, you know, he's going to be a huge prospect.
Well, he's in my opinion, one of the best in the province, and has the potential to be one of the best in the country. I genuinely do believe that. And
he's matured so much this year as well, because he was playing a bit part really with the county team and whatever, but when he did eventually get his chance, he was absolutely exceptional. He never, you couldn't ever say he did something wrong.
Is he on the 21 next year?
That's a good question. I don't think he is.
No, well, if he's not under 21 next year, it's huge plus for Cavan seniors.
Yeah.
Now, and not to knock the under 20 thing, but to have Kieran Brady throughout the entire league can only be a positive for Cavan, and they need the likes of him. Just to go on then, I suppose Kevin Boucher got 3 points.
Kieran Hall had a good game.
In synopsis, the summary is that Kieran Hall was excellent. But Kevin Boucher had 3 points. Peter Morris got 1. Jonathan McCabe had a very good game too. Scored 4 points, 2 in either half. Conal Shorten 3 points, 2 frees, 1 from open play. And young Shane Hamilton is another player that's been impressing me. He's coming on to the Arva team. I think he's still minor, or if not, he was minor last year anyway. But he has lovely silky skills, and he's got pace as well. He can win his own ball. He's a name to watch out for. He's a name that
star-studded forward line, just as you mentioned it there. Like you have Kevin Boucher, you have Jonathan McCabe, Conal Sheridan. I don't see even Ellison there.
No, he's not playing this year. I think he might actually be in America, or he picked up a bit of an injury at the start of the year, shoulder injury or something, and he hasn't just made it back yet from that at all. So I don't think we're going to see Brian Ellis.
Peter Morris, you know,
like that man is an All-Ireland medal in his back pocket. So is James there in the back line. Like
so does Jonathan McCabe, was he not as well? I think.
No, he wasn't on
was
that
junior
panel. But he's
year?
last year's Junior Player of the Year. So then on the drum side, it'd be wrong not to mention Paddy McEntee. Absolute brilliant ball winner. I mean, anything that goes in, if you put it into space, he's going to win it. He'll always win it. Even 50-50 balls that he shouldn't win, because he's not a big, tall man, but he still battles for absolutely everything. And he got 1-1, probably set up another 2 or 3 points at least for where he was either fouled or laid off at the right time. But he's a player that really is, he's reached a level of consistency for Drung that is inspirational, I suppose, to any man out there that can say if he can continue to produce the level of performance that he's doing, it shows that anybody can do it, because he's the type of person that you could turn around and he has every excuse in the world not to make the Drung senior team. You know, people could say he's not big enough and whatnot, but he doesn't use those excuses. He uses them to his advantage. He's constantly moving. And credit to him, absolutely brilliant. I have to say, he's excellent. The brother Declan, I'm not sure if he's a brother, but Declan McEntee, I think he is, but he's the other corner forward, and he can be very good on his day. Now, he didn't have one of his better days against Arva. He scored 2 points, I think it was. Might have got a couple more, but didn't really set the world alight. He's capable. He's a very capable footballer. He's big, strong, Gosson as well. Like lots of good physical attributes, but probably just had an off day. But I've seen him set the stage in light as well. But Drung can be happy with their progress. Their main goal had to be this year, get out of Division 3, you know, get up into the third tier of football, and they're still on track to do that. So hopefully they can finish it out.
Absolutely, yeah.
The second game, I thought we'd do this show in half an hour. It's not looking good.
No.
The second game saw Drumlane taking on Ballybor on Saturday night, and Drumlane ran out victors here on a scoreline of 2 goals and 10 points to 10 points. I have to say, Drumlane were professional and really efficient in what they'd done, getting the win here, but very disappointed with Ballybor. Didn't look like they wanted to be there. Didn't really mount any sort of a challenge, and the game was never really in doubt from early on. You know, they just pulling out my programme from it as well with all the notes on it. Drumlane scored 2-10, still had 8 wides, 1 drop short. You know, created plenty of opportunities. They just, I don't know what was wrong with Ballybor. Calvin Daly was missing, and that was a big loss to them. He was their full back, and he generally is the man that they look to go and mark the best forward on the opposition.
How did Sean Cooney do at wing back?
He wasn't too bad, in fairness. Yeah, he was probably the best of them.
Yeah, he's been their standout player, like with a team that has 2 argues on it. Rhys Clark as well on that team. He's been their Mr. Consistent all year. I thought he's been excellent in all their games, and you know, he's a full-blooded, you know, honest player. He's one of those ones that don't get enough credit. If you ask me.
No, he definitely had a good game. I thought Rhys Clark tried his hardest there as well. Brendan Argue was good from the frees. Again, he hit 6 of them, but nothing from open play. And earlier on in the year throughout the league, I was very impressed with Brendan Argue and his contribution from open play. And I hope if he is watching this that he doesn't take it the wrong way. He seems to be going down a little bit too easy now. For a big, strong man that's capable of getting through tackles, he's been put down a little bit too easy. And I'd like to see a little bit more fight in him, because he is talented. He's got the ability to push on and be a county senior. But I'd like to see him just be the sort of driving force for Ballybor, because he's capable of doing that.
Be the Kieran the Holla of Ballybor.
Because I think he's good enough.
Yeah, I've seen Brendan on numerous occasions, and I think he's a fine footballer. You know, he's probably could be living in the shadow of his brother Michael, who's another fantastic footballer. Michael was operating at full forward. He's been marked by John O'Dowd. Yeah. John O'Dowd, a good footballer,
a brilliant fullback. A brilliant fullback. I have to say, John O'Dowd won that battle hands down. There was no contest there. Michael Argue didn't look like a county footballer on the day, and he couldn't get into the game at all.
Was it that John O'Dowd is that good and that he marked a county footballer that well?
It's definitely a large part of it, a very big part of it, in fairness. Like, he was excellent. John O'Dowd, and even his use of the ball coming out, you know, was absolutely brilliant. John O'Dowd, though, has been consistently one of the best fullbacks in the county for the last decade. You know, he really has, and people forget, like, I think he's only 30 or 29. Like, he's not that terribly old.
He's not.
I know he looks old.
His brother Dane looks older than him. He's greyer than him, but he's actually younger than him.
As we've pointed out a number of times on Gaelic Football Views here. But I suppose to talk about the positives of it, we have a star in the making. We have somebody who's capable of going to the next level in Ryan Conley. He scored 1-4. He really was very, very good. And what I liked about the management, I have to give credit to the Drumlane management as well. Ryan Conley, if he's stuck on the inside line, is going to get a world of abuse. He's going to be pulled, he's going to be dragged. And last year, I thought in the quarter-final when Drumlane were beaten, I think it was in the quarter-final they ended up being beaten, that it was it Shercock beat them? Or sorry, it was the year before, actually. Now, again, he was very young at that point. But Shercock basically bullied him. Now, they didn't hit on boxes or anything like that, but they constantly stayed in his face, and he had
stuck in a full forward line where there was no room.
And exactly, he had a brick wall behind him, which is the end line. You can't run over that, and therefore the defender just stayed in front of him, kept a hand on him, and said, "Listen, you can't go that way, and I'm going to stop you from going this way." So he couldn't run out the field at all. And the Drumlane management obviously identified that in earlier game in the championship and said, "We're going to let him come out the field, let him just so he can spin a defender around 360." And it worked brilliantly for him, because he can pass a ball, he can win ball. He stays in the forward line, up around the half forward line, but if the ball isn't going to him on the first one, he's there to finish off the move coming off the shoulder again. And I have to say, I thought it was a really good tactical move. They still have quality to bring on. I thought Gary Tubman actually had a very good game for them as well. He was one to watch. And Kieran Crowe, a corner forward, but he was coming out around the middle of the field, gets through a world of work. So Drumlane will be happy with the result. Without having to hit top gear, they came through it with a 6-point win. Yeah,
and it's looking well. They're one of the teams that we have kind of tipped to go places in this championship. The next result saw Ballyhaise taking on Butler's Bridge, and this ended in a 17 points to 14 points victory for Ballyhaise, a 3-point win for Ballyhaise. But they didn't have it all their own way, Damien. Butler's Bridge put it up to them, and at one stage they were 14 points to 11 up.
Correct.
And right. Ballyhaise scored the last 6 points to win the game by 3 points.
Yeah, like it was up till that point the best game of the championship to date. It was brilliant, and the scores on show were better than the senior championship had produced. I mean, Stephen Smith, he finished with a tally of 7 points, 2 of them from frees and 5 from open play, 4 in the first half, 3 in the second half, and none of them easy. None of the frees from play, or none of the points from play were easy ones at all. But on the other end, Queeveen O'Reilly at centre half forward is brilliant to watch.
Class
I mean, exciting. Every single time he gets the ball, his immediate reaction is to get the head up, quick glance inside, nothing on, I'm going at you. You know, and he nearly does it all in the one move. That if you're a defender, he'll square up to you, but he's not squaring up and putting the head down and going straight by you. His head's up, and he's looking for that pass inside. If it's not on, he's not giving it. He's going to take on his man. And he had him and Costello burned 4 or 5 times just out of pure speed, pace, and it was an absolutely brilliant battle. Like the first half was, I didn't write down the halftime score. I don't think I actually did. Sorry, Ballyhaise were up by a point at halftime. It was 7 points to 8, and Queeveen was after hitting 3 points, 2 from open play, 1 from frees, where he just showed lightning pace, and he's a really exciting footballer to watch.
We saw that in the 21
Ulster
Championship
That's
up in Donegal and Ballybuffet, when he was the standout player in that match for Cavan and was unlucky.
Probably for both teams. Like Donegal went on to an Ulster final, but they didn't have a player of the calibre of Queeveen Riley, and that includes, in my opinion, Mark McHugh or Martin Riley, who went on to play for the senior team. To me, Queeveen Riley was ahead of them, and he's a player for me that's ready to slot into a county senior panel already. I do think he's that highly rated.
I think he has another year at under 21, maybe or 2.
He's 2 years left, But I'd be ready to step that lad up already. The other standout performer, and it's funny actually, we think back in Cavan and we've seen on the We Are Cavan website the left footers. Queeveen's a left footer. We talk back on the great forwards that Cavan had. Larry Riley's a left footer, Peter Riley's a left footer, Jason Riley's a left footer, John Brady was a left footer. You know, you're going to real quality forwards that Cavan produced. We've another left footer in Butler's Bridge that gave an exhibition of left-footed kicking here. Jonathan Leddy is a name that people will know. He obviously was an academy soccer player over with Ipswich, has come back home now, and what soccer's loss is our absolute gain. He is phenomenal, and some of the points, I think he finished with 2, 4, 6, 8 points. There was 4 frees and 4 from open play, and I think definitely one of them, maybe 2 of them, of the frees he took from outside the 45 off the ground and just sailed them. Like he could have had another 15 yards on them. And he's not a big man, but he knows how to strike a ball, and he can strike it from the hands or he can strike it off the ground. And he's a joy to watch. He's an absolute joy to watch. The other mention, when I do go on the ladies, and not to cut Jonathan short, because he was phenomenal and probably man of the match, him or Queeveen, and I'd say probably Jonathan might have just edged it on the day for the point taken, but his younger brother Killian, who was involved with the county minors, was in corner forward. And something similar to Paddy McEntee, he's not the biggest. Now, he wouldn't be as small as Paddy, but he's not a big man by any means at all. But his movement inside, I tell you, if I had time on the ball out the field, I'd love to have a player like that inside. But unfortunately, I never had time on the ball because I wasn't good enough. But his movement is brilliant. You'd put the head up and you'd see where he wants it, and he's running towards it all the time. He was very, very good for Butler's Bridge. And what it does show is Butler's Bridge, although they're beaten by 3 points, there wasn't 3 points in the two teams here. And I felt the turning of this game was down to when Butler's Bridge went 3 points up, they took off the wing half forward Dara Fitzpatrick and they put on Salo Contrero and as a sweeper, and it seemed to hand the impetus back over to Ballyhaise, and they then started to push on, and I think they scored 6 or 7 points unanswered, like you said there. So
Butler's Bridge kind of retreated into defensive mode and says we'll try and hold instead of keeping pushing at Ballyhaise.
I felt now, and again, maybe that was just a perception of the way it looked from the sideline, but I didn't speak to anyone in Butler's Bridge. I said, listen, that was a tactic that we definitely done, but the substitution was Dara Fitzpatrick going off a wing half forward, and they brought on a corner back, and he definitely was sitting in front for part of the game. Now, he was driving forward as well, but it looked like, listen, we're 3 points up, we've 10 minutes to go here, let's just close it out. And they just weren't fit to do it. Now, as a manager, I'll stand up for Mickey Lee in this one, because, you know, if he'd done that and they had won the game by 2 points, he'd have been the greatest manager in the world. Yeah. You know, and it's on those fine calls that, you know, managers have to live and die by. But I commend him probably for maybe having the guts to go and do it. It didn't work out.
It didn't work out. On the Ballyhaise side of things, Kevin Tierney didn't start the game, came on he had a big influence as well on the final.
Like he done well when he come on. He scored 2 points and in a half of football. So he come on at half time. Now I have to say he didn't just absolutely dominate the whole situation.
But his 2 points, I think, were at a crucial time when there was maybe 2 or 3 points in it. There were maybe 2 or 3 points behind.
Definitely.
And he scored 2 points in that period. And then it was Kevin Smith, I think, who pushed on after that, was it?
No.
Or Stephen Smith,
sorry. Stephen Smith, yeah. Stephen Smith was brilliant. Porrick Moore, again, was very good. Corner forward, 4 points from play. David Brady kicked in with 2 points. Like, what Ballyhaise have is an abundance of scores. Like, they really have.
And last year in the final, that was their problem. They didn't seem to have an abundance of scores, because if Cootehill were able to keep Kevin Tierney quiet, that seemed to be the end of the threat for Ballyhaise. So
but what changed
it this year?
Well, what has changed is last year they didn't have David Brady. Last year they didn't have Stephen Smith. So they have that, and Porrick Moore was there last year. Now, he was kept very quiet in the final as well. But they now, a defence now going into face Ballyhaise are saying, okay, we have 4 lads we really do have to watch, because they can all take scores at their ease. You know, and
Barry Kelly can chip in with a couple of scores as well.
Yeah, he didn't play. I think he must have been injured, because Barry McCrudden started instead of him.
Right.
So it left it that, you know, but Barry Kelly's more of a worker anyway. He's not your score getter. But they have 4 forwards there that can pick off scores, and not just easy ones. So it was a good win for Ballyhaise, in fairness, and they'll be, like, a few Ballyhaise people were saying after the game, we didn't play well. They did. They did play well. They really had to play well. But Butler's Bridge played very well.
They didn't give Butler's Bridge the credit that it deserved, maybe.
Well, possibly they were harsh on themselves, maybe Ballyhaise, in saying that maybe they didn't expect as big a challenge. But Ballyhaise, to me, they were going in the right frame of mind. They started well. The game was close. But in the previous game, they were just fit to pull away. But Butler's Bridge weren't going away. Like, I'd have to say, after watching that game, it would galvanise my thought that Ballyhaise are a top quality team. Butler's Bridge played to, I'd say, 90% or 95% of their potential. Ballyhaise probably played to about 85 to 90%, and they still just kept on coming at them. And Ballyhaise, that game would probably say to them now that we're going to go on and win this thing out. And I think they will after that.
They have the capabilities after that.
They were tested.
This was a huge test. 3 points down, 10 minutes to go, and to hit 6 unanswered points and win the game by 3 points. That shows character. Something that they have probably been lacking in the last number of years. Always been the bridesmaid, never been the bride. Yeah. And hopefully for Ballyhaise, this could be their year. So
from their point of view, it definitely looks like they're
and nobody will begrudge them one at this stage.
I don't think so.
Apart from any team that meets them in the final.
I was just going to say exactly any of the other 3 teams who are left in it. But the final game in the Intermediate Championship, the Hotel Kilmore Intermediate Championship, saw Beltorba taking on Swan and Bar. And I've been talking a hell of a lot, so we'll let you take this one. But it was Beltorba to come out with the victory here, 1 goal and 8 to 10 points.
Yeah, Beltorba for the first time out in the championship. They left it till September to start their championship campaign this year, so they did. This was an interesting one. Belturbet could have easily won this game by 8 or 10 points. They had 17 wides.
That's right.
They had 4 or 5 dropped short as well. Swan and Bar, you know, they just kept plugging away. In fairness to them, they never give up. That's one thing that has to be said. Belturbet were very, very wasteful, as we've already pointed out. But Gerard McKiernan playing in the middle of the field for Swan and Bar. He ended up with 2 points, 1 in either half. Probably wasn't the type of performance we'd come to expect from Gerard McKiernan. When he did drive forward, he was amazing. But what happened was, it was something they obviously have worked on in Swan and Bar, is that when he did, at one stage he set up an absolutely incredible score. He won the ball in his own 21, drove out with the ball up along the stand in Kingston Breffley Park in the second half. He knocked away 3 players that were trying to tackle him, broke through, brought it the whole way to the other 21, laid it off, and I can't remember who it was. Mark Cunningham is right. And Swan and Bar got a score. I think it brought them back level, and then straight into the full forward line. Now, he did that every time he drove.
When the kick out was being taken, he was standing in the full forward, and he stayed instead of going out for the kick out.
Every time that he made a long run in the game and he made it up into that forward line, the full forward.
Well, it was actually Michael Curran
at that stage. But even in the first half when he was doing it, somebody else went out for him.
Yeah,
if he made a long run, he stayed in, got his breath for a couple of minutes, took his time, built himself back up and went back out. But it was crucial to Swan Bar to have him out in the midfield at all times, because when he was there, he did seem to dominate.
Yeah, he definitely did, and some of his catching was absolutely brilliant. The funny thing was, I was speaking to a Belturbet manager after the game, and he had said that he was at our game, Killincare against Swan Bar, and he was watching it and kind of saying to himself, right, what Killincare have done with the kickouts here is absolutely brilliant. We'll try and replicate something like that to avoid Garrod and Michael Cunningham, but then what he said was, when Garrod wasn't there, we were confused by it. When he was sitting inside in the full forward line, we didn't know what to do with our kickouts. And he said it really stumbled. It put us on the back foot that we didn't know what we were doing. We had earmarked Damien O'Reilly to go and mark him regardless of where he was. But we didn't think he'd be in at full forward, staying there for maybe 5 minutes at a time. And he said it just threw us off altogether. And we had an idea of what way they were going to play, and they didn't play that way, which upset our game plan.
Yeah, definitely, you could see that, and it definitely upset Belturbet. But like, this was a close game right throughout. It was always close. And that's what gave it excitement, because the shooting on both sides was very, very poor, but more so on Belturbet's
But if you take it as a game, and I do always, again, ever the optimist with me, but I do nearly always take it as chances created, right? The final part of it is the shooting, and obviously it's vital to win a game. But for a game to be exciting, if it has a lot of chances created, and Belturbet had 17 wides?
17 wides, and there was actually about 4 or 5 drop shorts.
So your 21, 22 chances there, plus the 9 that they had.
Yeah.
They created 30 chances. Swan and Bar had 10 scores, and I think they had maybe
10, and they had 7 wides, maybe 2 drop short.
Yeah. So you're talking about 21 chances there. So a game with 50 odd scoring chances in it.
Yeah.
That's entertaining for me.
Oh well, yeah, of course, yeah. But you'd love to see some
score.
Of them. Like, there were some of them that were very easy chances. And I suppose, look, Belturbet, it's their first time out in the championship. They're rusty. They haven't played. I think their last game was against Shercock in the league. I was talking to one of them afterwards, which is a long, long time ago. It must be 2.5, 3 months ago nearly since they played that game.
Yeah.
So like, Belturbet have
definitely 2 months. Yeah.
They haven't played a competitive game in a long, long time. It's going to stand to them. Put into a semi-final, and plus they won't have the injury concerns that maybe teams that have played 2 or 3 games already will have gone into that stage of the championship. Belturbet, for me, I did not think I thought that Swan and Bar would beat them, and going by their performance last night and the areas they can improve on, I tell you one thing, they could be dark horses as well. They'll be there or thereabouts. There was some good performances, I suppose, just to run through it. Kevin McConnell at centre back for Belturbet was very good. Stuart Dunn, wing back, young fella, blonde hair, he was excellent. Enda Henry in the middle of the field. He did end up with 5 points out of Belturbet's 1-8.
He's grown as a player this year.
He is definitely grown as a player, and he's tenacious. He gets involved in a whole lot, like, and whatever.
Possibly to the point where he needs to pull it back a bit. Take the trigger off a wee bit, because he's, to me, if he can control that part of his game, he's a class footballer. I've seen him with Cavan Juniors this year as well. Like, he could possibly step out. I'm not sure what age he is, but he looks like a really good footballer until he gets to the point where he's losing the head. Yeah,
definitely, and that's something he'll have to work on going forward. Cian Vaughan had a good game as well. Cian scored a cracker of a goal, kept it low under the goalkeeper.
That's right.
Great strike. Bud Fitzpatrick was very good at it as well. He got on a lot of ball. He was lively. He was looking. He was trying to put the ball into Gio. But then on the Swan and Bar side of things, he was trying to put the ball in on Gio. Greg McGovern, playing at full back, did very, very well on Gio. 2 big men, 2 big strong men. Gio's been scoring goals for fun this year.
Gio's advantage has always been that although he's not tall, he's extremely powerful, really strong. And when he couldn't muscle Greg McGovern out of the way, he couldn't get through for those goal chances. And I thought it was the first time this year that I've seen Greg McGovern playing as fullback and playing well as fullback, because usually the opposition will send somebody in there and try to run him. And Greg's not the quickest to turn. His positives are that he's physically so strong. He's great in the air, and when he's running straight, he's absolutely unstoppable. It's the speed of turn that doesn't really suit him. But that's probably typical of a midfielder, and he's played all his football as a midfielder up till this year, playing fullback now for Swan and Bar. So it's a change for him, but I was very impressed with him last night. I thought he did a very good job.
Definitely, I'd have to agree with you on that, and just his turning ability. But that's like a big man is not going to be able to turn that quickly.
Can't have it all. It'd be unfair in the world if he could.
Christopher Curran had a good game as well at centre back for Swan and Bar. Michael Cunningham, I thought at different stages was very good
until he got injured, and I think that was crucial to the outcome of the game.
Definitely, because Michael Cunningham's a quality footballer, and even the point that he got was a great score as well. Then looking into the forward line, Mark Cunningham and Breffney McKiernan at full forward was very lively. He was lined out at full forward, but he just had a Roman role, and he was getting involved in everything. He was always looking for the ball. He was looking to take on men and then deliver ball.
He has pace to burn too, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I've seen him a lot this year. Between Swan and Bar, we played them in the very first game of the league, and watched him throughout different games in the league and then into the championship, and he's growing so much. And I'll tell you what, I think the amalgamation at minor, the fact that he's playing with a very good St. Joe's team, is bringing him on, and is bringing him on in leaps and bounds. I'd love to see him now getting involved or being afforded the opportunity to get involved with the county panel. To me, he has potential there, and he is something that we need in Cavan. He's not as tall as Garode, but he's a big man. He's got real lightning pace, and he's good at carrying a ball. I'd like to see Breffney get more of a chance, maybe with a county. I'm not sure if he's minor again next year. If he is, he's a shoe-in for the county minor panel.
Oh, definitely, because he was, as you said, lightning fast and brave.
Yeah.
You know, he's not afraid to go for ball, and he was taking on the man. He was doing the right things at the right times. He was delivering it when he needed to, and he was taking on a man when he needed to, which was great to see that the player knew when to do that. Mark Cunningham was exceptional as well in a corner forward. He ended up with 4 points, 3 from play and 1 from a free. And actually, I forgot to mention Conor Walsh, who started as well at wing back. He played instead of he played instead of Conor Gilheany at wing back.
But he actually kind of operated in the middle of the field as well, didn't he?
And he was excellent as well. He ended up with 1 point.
Again,
then
a young player, I think. I think he's a young player.
Yeah, he looked like a young lad. But it was that was a great result for Bill Turbot, having not played a game. That was Swad's third game in the championship, so a fourth game in the championship this year. So it was
Which was it?
They lost to Ballyhaise, then they bet Shercock, then they bet Killincare, and then they played Bill Turbot. So it was the fourth game in the championship, and Bill Turbot played one and are in the semi-final. So there is something a little bit unfair about that at the same time.
Again, though, we'll have to admit that it wasn't the county board's fault. It was just a victim of circumstance.
What do you mean admit? You're not involved with the county
board.
We're not taking the rap.
Admit. I mean,
we have to say,
we just have to point out. Yeah. But so look at what that means is that the Hotel Kilmore Intermediate Championship semi-final draw is as follows: Arva against Belturbet and Drumlane against Ballyhaise. Now, again, I think that the Cully's Craft Bakery Junior Championship semi-finals are this coming weekend.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is.
And then the following weekend will be the intermediate
semi-finals and 2 of the quarter-finals from the senior championship.
The 2 quarter-finals, we'll roll on to them after, but the 2 quarter-finals, there will be 2 this coming weekend in the Hotel Kilmore Senior Championship, and there'll be 2 then the following weekend. So the Hotel Kilmore Senior Championship, there was a very busy week here where it started last Wednesday night, where Mullahoran were taking on Ballina in the replay in Kingspan Breffney Park, and Mullahoran came away with the victory. And this is a case of goals win games.
Yeah, 3 goals and 7 points to Ballina's 14 points
after extra time.
You were at this game, I believe, Damien, and from what I believe, this was a cracker of a game. It ended up in a draw. There was a little bit of contention about the allotted time at the end of the game. There was supposed to be 3 minutes, it went to 5.5. Mullahoran got a point to draw level in the 5th minute of injury time.
Substitution, Daniel Smith came on and got the point. Now, I will say in Chris McCaffrey's defence, firstly, he had a very good game in general. He refereed the game excellent. The announcement, and it is always stated, is that there will be at least 3 minutes of additional time. Now, within those 3 minutes, or from when the time the announcement was made, there definitely was delays. Whether there was 2 minutes or a little over 2 minutes of delays within those time, I'm not 100% sure. I would have thought maybe a minute to a minute and a half or so, but
It's something we'll be coming back to in a game later on.
yes, we will indeed. But having said that, I personally rather see when a game is that close, and I know if I letter the law, people might say, oh, listen, you just blow it up when you blow it up, but they deserved more time at that. You know, it was too close of a game to be saying, listen, I'm just going to blow it up now. When even if he had blown it up exactly on 3 minutes, Mullahoran would have went nuts, and rightly so, because there was definitely more time to be added on. So sometimes they go with you, sometimes they go against you.
Exactly.
Because Ballinya, the first drawn game, Mullahoran had possession of the ball, and James Clark blew it up 10 seconds before the allotted total of 2 minutes, and Mullahoran with possession of the ball. So they could be extremely aggrieved, and Ballinya can feel lucky in that situation that they got the rub of the green that time. So, you know, it probably does balance out.
But see, the thing about it is that it does say at least 2 minutes or at least 3 minutes or whatever, but it's at the discretion of the referee as well. So we just have to take it. But look, Mullahoran march on into the next round. That meant that Ballinya were going to have to play King's Court in their second round qualifier, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it's technically called round 3 game, but yeah, their second qualifier game, basically. And that took place on Sunday in Ramor. Well, just sorry to talk quickly about the Mullahoran game. Probably the thorn of this game was that substitute Daniel Smith coming on, because Ballinya in extra time looked like they were running away with this. They were going to, 3-4 points in extra time is a big score, because it's hard to, you're so tired.
You don't have the time yet as well to get that back.
Daniel Smith came on as a substitution just before the end of ordinary time, got the equalising point. Ballinya went up, I think, by 3 points in extra time, and Daniel read a back pass going to Declan Beard and intercepted it, and then Sola Dummy came back on the right foot and stuck it in the back of the net, and then all of a sudden Mullahoran, like a shot of adrenaline to the arm, burst through it again and just hit a goal and another goal and a point. So they hit, I think, 2-1 in the space of about 4 or 5 minutes in extra time. And poor Ballinya had nothing to offer after that. They were just out on their feet. Like, there was players cramping up all over the place, and they really couldn't come back from it. So, but credit to them, they continued to work. And I will say, Colin Gumley put in another outstanding performance. When Niall McDermott was gone, they needed somebody to step up, and again, Colin Gumley done it. I think he finished 7 points in that game, which was a brilliant return.
Which is absolutely brilliant for Ballinya, in that, you know, without Niall McDermott shooting on full tilt, you know, that they have somebody else to take that mantle when he's not there. So looking at the teams, or looking at Ballinya over the last few years, you would have always said, look, if you can curtail Niall McDermott, you know, you'll stop Ballinya. But now there's a couple of other options for them, which is very good for Ballinya, you know.
So what that meant was then Ballinya had to face King's Court in the round 3 game in Ramor, in Dolan Park, Virginia, Sunday at, I think this game started at 2 o'clock. And again, this went to extra time. And talk about tough going, and it was finished up a draw. A goal and 15 points to King's Court, and 2 goals and 12 points to Ballinya after extra time. And Ballinya have essentially now played 4 games in 8 days, if you take extra time twice as a game. You know, how sore are them boys today?
Well, you know, this is phenomenal, because there was a 4-day turnaround for them, or 3-day turnaround for them on the last game. They went into the game, we were following it on Twitter because we were doing the ladies finals, and there were 5 points to no score down after maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then we got the half-time score, and it was 6 points to a goal and 2. Ballinya, I think, were leading again at the end, towards the end of the normal time, and King's Court came back and drew level. I think it was the other way around. Ballinya got a couple of goals.
King's Court got back in front.
And to go into extra time, and to be able to hold King's Court as well, again, in extra time to a draw, fair play to Ballinya, you know, absolutely brilliant. I'd love to have been at the game. Apparently, it was the game of the championship so far, from all accounts.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, all right, that were at it. And to see the return of Pádraig Faulkner, Joe Dillon and McCardle for King's Court.
It was Joe Dillon who scored a goal So it was, yeah.
Thank you.
Do you know, remember we were watching it on Twitter when we were up in
Yeah.
Kingston Breffni Park? Joe Dillon came on as a substitute and scored a goal in the last couple of minutes to draw them level, to draw Kings Court level.
Apparently a cracker too.
A cracker of a goal.
Yeah.
Like, so just, you have to follow, you'll have to, we don't know when this replay is going to be. It's more than likely going to be Friday
night from what we're hearing now. It hasn't been confirmed. CCC are meeting tonight, but I think that's the only fair thing to do. Now, generally, the replays are meant to be midweek of that week, but it's too much to ask.
You couldn't ask them to play 5 games in 10 days. Like.
No, exactly. I think that's you're into player welfare issues there. And it's funny enough, that's the second time that both teams have been involved in extra time. Because Cuchullin's brought Kingscourt to extra time, and Ballina Mullahoran, and then with this as well. The funnier thing is that this game, more than likely, as we said, would be played on Friday night. If Kingscourt were to win this and go on and we'll say win the championship, they'd have had to play 10 games. 10 games. Like
the senior championship.
As it stands, their record in the senior championship is drawn 2, won 2, lost 2. And they're still going.
Still there.
You know, talk about they're biding their time to get everybody back. So they are bit by bit by bit. Niall Lynch he's the master tactician because he couldn't have planned this any better.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's affording them more time to get these players back and get a full squad. And look, I hope to make this game on Friday night, and I think it's going to be a cracker of a game. And anybody who is available, if the game is on Friday night in Kingston Breffni Park, it'll be more than likely around an 8 o'clock kickoff, 7:30 or 8 o'clock. So.
Probably 8:15. They usually put them back later on Friday night. But again, look, keep on the Cavan GA website and you'll see the fixture coming up. But if you can get into Breffni Park and watch this, and as we move on to the seamless link, get in on Wednesday night, because we're nearly sure that the replay of Killigarry and Coothill will be on Wednesday night. We talk about, people say about Cavan and the blanket defences and the Black Deaths and, you know, negative football. This was a cracker. This was, for me, the championship game of the year so far. You know,
that we've seen, definitely. Yeah. You couldn't say it wasn't like.
Yeah, like the one out of the ones I've seen, absolutely outstanding. It finished after extra time, 3 goals and 15 points to Killigarry, 24 points to Coothill. What more could you want?
This was an absolute cracker of a game. So it was. Killigarry won this game 2 or 3 times. So they did, and
lost it 2 of them, lost it 2 or 3 times,
and drew it 2 or 3 times. Coothill, in fairness to them, it has to be said, Coothill, they went down by 4 or 5 points, maybe twice or 3 times in crucial times of this game, and they just kept plugging away. I have to say, I was so impressed with their response to this game, because a couple of weeks ago, or last week against Killashandra, I thought that their discipline let them down. In a game that was going their way for long periods, their discipline just went out the window, and they lost their heads. Killashandra just opened them up then and won that game at a canter in the end. But Coothill this week,
talk about a response.
What a response. They started without John McCutcheon, and also the 2 players that were sent off, Dean Connolly last week and Brian Sherlock were sent off against Killashandra. John McCutcheon was named at midfield, didn't start. He had a hip problem.
He was replaced by Gerard
Argue. He came in at one in the second half, I think it was.
That's right.
Came in the second half and dragged them back into the game.
When they were trailing by 4 points, I think, at the time, and he scored some of the best points of his career. Absolutely brilliant. He scored 4 points as a substitute.
2 from the left, 2 from the right.
That's right. Absolutely brilliant.
All from distance.
Enda Hessen, another man of just unquestionable talent. You know,
absolutely, just a complete raw talent.
Finished up with 9 points, and somebody actually said to me I missed one, that he actually got 10. So I could be wrong on that one, but an absolute phenomenal performance by Enda Hessen. And
this game had everything, by the way. This game had points that were wides, it had wides that were points,
it
had extra time, it had Killigarry celebrating a victory, and then Coothill celebrating a draw. You know, it was just, the excitement in this game was absolutely fantastic.
It was non-stop and end to end, and it really had everything. Enda Hessen, just to say that, and we're delighted to announce we hadn't the opportunity to get the Players of the Week for last week and this week, but Enda Hessen is the Sheridan Insurance Breffni All-Stars Player of the Week for this week gone by.
Which is week 7, I think.
Which is week 7, but week 6 winner was Declan McKiernan from Killishandra. So congratulations to Declan.
To both players, and
we'll
have hopefully have them both in next week.
Yeah, indeed. Back to the game though. Colm Smith, wing half forward, 3 points.
Excellent.
Hasn't he really got himself back into football? As in, like, he looked so big last year.
I think he went off as well, didn't he? He went off.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe at the start of injury of extra time, or just before the end of full time, and he was having a fantastic game. He's become a ball carrier. He's become a distributor. He's become an attacker. He's got everything, and a finisher. Some of his points were excellent. Bringing it back to Enda Hessen's left foot, right foot. Inside of the right foot, inside of the left foot, outside of the left foot. Distance from inside.
I'm going to put a question to you, Mickey. What is Enda Hessen's natural foot? What's his foot? Can anybody out there tell me that? Because I've seen him kick frees off the ground with the left and the right foot.
I think it'd be predominantly right foot. But I've just going from what I've seen him.
It's seamless, isn't it? And it's such a joy to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like phenomenal. The first 2 points he got, the first one was he received the ball in the middle of the field, or about the 45-metre line, running, and just the goals are straight in front of him, but he ran slightly to this way, had the speed to get enough distance between him and his marker, and slotted the ball over with the left foot from about 35 yards out. The next ball he got, Justice, where there was a mirror down the centre of the field, and he just done the exact same on the right.
Yeah.
And everything was the exact same. Kicking from with his right hand, with his right foot, it was right hand to right foot, left hand to left foot. His technique is flawless, absolutely flawless. A joy to watch. On the other side, though, not just to harp on about Coothill, because they were very good in that game, but Killigary, for me, the matchups were always going to be key, and in any game they are. And Killigary asked Pádraig Cahill to go out and do a job, and a very important one on Tom Hayes, who's one of the best young forwards in the county. And I have to say, Pádraig Cahill was excellent.
Absolutely phenomenal. Brilliant performance by Pádraig Cahill. Pádraig, he'd be in his early 30s.
Yeah.
And he's marking one of our young prospects in Cavan. He was just so tight. He just got so tight to Tom. And that's 2 weeks in a row I've seen players get tight to Tom. Tom didn't have a bad game.
No. But he just wasn't afforded any time.
He just couldn't influence the game the way we know Tom Hayes can. Pádraig Cahill was excellent. He was always by his side, getting a hand in, making sure that he made it difficult for him, making sure that he was pushing him away from goal. If the ball wasn't good enough for Tom to be able to hold on first time, he wasn't getting it, because if he had to palm it or control it to himself at all, bang, straight
it was gone. And I brilliant performance there by Pádraig Cahill. And defenders don't usually get enough credit here or in the general media, but Pádraig Cahill was excellent. I thought Paddy Galligan in goals was excellent.
Great game as well by Paddy Galligan. A clean sheet. For Paddy Galligan, and he made some great saves, made some great catches, and his distribution was excellent as well.
There was one save where he came out extremely quick. I can't think who it was on.
He came out nearly to the 13-metre line and jumped through players. And I think he caught it actually, didn't he? Or did he palm it away?
I think he palmed it away.
But there was a Coothill player and a Killigary player coming in either side of him. Like, it was just, and he got in between them. A ball that he should never be winning nearly. That kind of
just instinct off the line so quick, and it was absolutely brilliant there. Matty McKenna, 2 goals and 1 point from centre half forward, all from open play. Martin Riley had he scored 1-5.
Yeah.
1-5, a penalty and 3 frees, 2 from open play.
But the 2 from open play were ridiculous. They were sick.
Yeah, they were.
I can't believe they even used.
Brilliant.
I would never use the word sick, because that's what the young people, the cool people use. But they were absolutely sick.
They were brilliant in fairness. But yet he didn't have one of his better games.
No, he didn't have one of his better games. Again, that has to be put down to good defending. There was always somebody right tight to him, right up behind him, close by his side. He was never afforded any time on the ball. So again, good performance by I think it was the young Carney, was it, that was marking him from Coothill?
That's right, John
Carney, and John Carney had a very good game for Coothill as well.
He did. He even got up and scored a point himself. But this was a cracking game, and the replay is more than likely going to be Wednesday night. But again, stay on the cavanga.ie website, fixtures and results to see exactly when that game is.
And also, if you want to see any of the contentious issues from that game, get onto the We Are Gavin website and you'll be able to see some of the footage from that game that was recorded on a mobile phone, and you can have your say on those issues, because some of them were, there's some bizarre moments in that game, as well as the most entertaining game of the championship so far.
Without a doubt. So look at the Hotel Kilmore Senior Championship quarter-final draw was done Sunday evening, and it saw Ramor taking on Castlerahan. Cavan Gales will face the winners of Kingscourt and Baranya.
That game is to be played in 2016, I think.
I think so. Killishandra to take on Lacken, and Mullahorn will play the winners of Killigarry and Coothill. So it's mouthwater and stuff. Killishandra, Lacken and Ramor and Castlerahan will be played this coming weekend, with the other two games more than likely the following weekend. So look, at what we'll do is we'll just you can give your predictions very quickly, because we've ran way over time here.
We still have to do the ladies yet.
I know. On the two games that will be played.
The two games that will be played this week, which is Ramor and Castlerahan. This is a hard one to call. I'm going to actually, would you believe, I think Castlerahan are just starting to come alive, and I'm going to go with Castlerahan in this one. I know it's going against everything that I believe, because I think this could be Ramor's year, and I think they're playing really well. But just the local derby and the fact that Castlerahan have had the better of them over the last few years, I'm just going to go with Castlerahan.
Very good. And Killishandra Lacken?
Killishandra Lacken, this one I'm going to go with a Lacken win. Yeah. So I am, and I'm not saying, oh God, Lacken are going to hammer them or anything like that. I just think that they've got too much firepower in the forward line. But this will be a cracking match.
Yeah, actually they're both going to be cracking, because to me they're 50-50 games, probably maybe 55-45, very, very close games.
Call them.
For me, Castlerahan looked impressive against Gowna, and they seem to be hitting form at the right time.
We didn't actually mention that scoreline.
Right. So how did I miss that?
Yeah, it was just because we went from the...
oh, sorry, we skipped over it. Is right.
Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah, it finished 5 goals and 10 points to 1 goal and 5. Story of this game, I suppose, just very, very quickly. Cian Mackey, 3 goals and 4 points. A penalty, 2 goals from open play, 1. An unbelievable little chip, a real cheeky.
Only Cian
Mackey, or maybe Martin Dunn will try it, or as we see later on, or talk about later on, Clara O'Reilly.
Exactly.
But an absolutely brilliant chip, and then 2 frees, 2 from open play. A good team performance by Castlerahan in general. Gowna will be disappointed. There should have been more in Gowna, and look, the game was never really in doubt though. Castlerahan led from the front all the way through, and the only probably talking point was that there was a bit of a melee, and I say a bit, I mean a lot of a melee, right in front of the stand, and unfortunately it was just horrible incidents where water boys, mentors, everybody got involved, and I'm sure the CCC has a busy night ahead of them looking and trying to pick out people in that, but then look, what's the point in doing it? Should it only be overturned by
exactly.
the
You have to go by the law, the land these days. Yeah, well, there's no laws in GAA.
Can I say that I was speaking to a referee? I just want to make this point out, and if the GAA have any cop on, they'll start listening to this. A referee said to me at the weekend that he was refereeing a game where it warranted a couple of red cards, and he said, I didn't bother giving them, I just gave yellow cards because what's the point anymore? And that was in an actual game that he decided, listen, what's the point anymore of doing it? It's only going to be overturned, or my decisions don't really matter anymore. And when you have that point, when you have referees on the ground making statements like that, where are we going as an association? And that's a bigger debate
it is. It's huge. But very quickly, I woke up on Saturday morning and I was so disappointed. I did nothing against Dermot Connolly. I did nothing against Mayo or Dublin. I just can't believe that, we have rules and regulations in the GAA, and striking offence is a sending off, be it a retaliation, be it self-defence, be it anything. A striking is a sending off. A referee from Cavan, Joe McQuillan, got it so right on the day, and then it's turned over. It's so upsetting. I actually got so annoyed about it. Not annoyed, I was upset.
So did I. No, I'm the same. I got annoyed.
I'm just like going, this is our sport, this is the game that we love, and this is actually going to have huge repercussions, and it's already started when you see a referee who knows he should have given 2 or 3 red cards, and he says, what's the point? And I have nothing against that referee.
No, I can't argue with him. No. I couldn't argue. I couldn't say, listen, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Why would he? Why would he put himself up for the abuse that he'd have got
for giving them red cards
if this is what's going on at national level? So I feel Look, people would say I'm very harsh on referees in general, but I feel so sorry for them.
Yeah,
referees
this is ridiculous. Like, and I can be hard on Joe McQuillan at times, and I have to say he got those calls absolutely perfect. It was a yellow card for Keegan, and it was a red card for Connolly,
100%.
and then this is just it just makes a mockery of our sport.
Yeah.
It makes it out to be as amateur as it is.
Yeah, it does, and yet it makes it out that you can buy your way to it anyway. You know, if you're willing to throw €1,000 to go all the way to the DRA, then you know
€10,000.
Is it €10,000?
Yeah.
Well, if you're willing to throw €10,000 at it, then you can get off. You know, we'll keep on going. It's like asking a question and just keep on asking until you get the answer you want to hear. Like, it's just
the thing about it is that Dublin obviously knew that there's some sort of a loophole, and they obviously knew, because they wouldn't have went to the DRA if they didn't know there was a loophole. And you can't knock them either, knowing that they can get Diarmuid Connolly playing, like, for a fact, because they knew they knew going in there. There has to be. They knew there was a loophole.
For me, it's time for the DRA to be disbanded. Personally, I don't think there's a need for it in the GAA. We have our own. There was a second appeal system there. They had the second appeal. It was torn down. That's it. Good luck. You're not playing, and forget about it. This DRA is bringing in people who aren't involved in the GAA to adjudicate on issues that are just about GAA, and they're taking in, as you say, the law of the land, which is nothing to do with it.
Joe Brawley pointed it out on the Sunday game the other night, that, you know, when it goes to the DRA, you're talking about solicitors, barristers, the ex-head of the Supreme Court. You know, that's what you're dealing with. They don't deal with it as a GAA issue, because that's not what it is to them, and that's not what it is when it gets to the DRA. It's a lawful thing.
Then do we turn around now and should the full-back for Dublin that ended up with a cut on his eye after Cillian O'Connor struck back, should he take him to court?
Well,
should he go to court?
Well, one thing I do believe from this is that Louth have actually put in an argument to the head of the GAA, saying that they want a replay for the 2010 Leinster final where Joe Sheridan threw a ball over the line. You know, it's just that's what I'm saying. It just makes a mockery, the whole thing, and you could see something like that happening now. Anyway.
Exactly. But anyway, we'll move on. I don't even know where we were.
We were about to give the quarter-final matches.
We gave them, and we gave our predictions. So we'll go on. We'll move on to the ladies. We'll try and calm down, de-stress a wee bit, and go through this.
It is. It's so stressful. It really is.
Quinn Building Products Junior Championship final of the Ladies Football Junior Championship final was on yesterday at 12 o'clock in Kingston Breffni Park, covered live here on Cavan TV, and it was an absolutely brilliant occasion. The whole day long was absolutely brilliant.
That's what I was just going to say. What a day! Like, we had
the good, the bad, and the ugly over the weekend.
I think you get with the Cavan Ladies GAA, it has to be said, this thing of having the junior final, the intermediate final, and the senior final all in the one day is absolutely brilliant, and it makes a spectacle of the GAA, of the ladies GAA. It's an
entire occasion.
Yeah, it's a festival of football. Yeah. So it is, and it was. I have to say, it was brilliant. The Quinn Products Junior Championship, Drumgoon and Kingscourt, Drumlane and Killygarry in the Kiernan Service Stations intermediate final, and the Lacken and Lurgan in the Breffni Mushrooms.
A huge congratulations to Drumgoon. They won the junior title on a scoreline of 2 goals and 15 points to 1 goal and 9. You were commentating on this game, Mickey. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, this game looked very, very tight at the start, but Drumgoon did pull away in the end. Kingscourt, the first year in 20 years putting in a ladies senior team, and to get to a final was brilliant. But not only that, a little bit of history on this one as well. Drumgoon won their first ever adult ladies championship, which was absolutely phenomenal as well. I remember doing the interviews with them last year, going into that final, and it was a big thing for them that they hadn't won it. We spoke to them here last week with the up for the match style thing as well. It wasn't really spoken about. They left that, they didn't talk about that. And I was delighted for all in Drumgoon.
Great crack, them girls.
It was a great game. The Murrays were fantastic, it has to be said. You couldn't not name any of them. Claire McCaffrey in goals was fantastic. Selena Lynch got on the end of a great one for a goal. Jordan Crowe, Orla Smith, the standout player of the game, without a shadow of a doubt. Absolutely phenomenal.
Did she get player of the match?
She got player of the match. And actually, I was looking at the interviews earlier on with you that you did with Conor Barry late on in the evening, and he said that he had been here from the junior match, and one of the girls that stood out in that match was Orla Smith. She was absolutely fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Michelle Murray in the other corner forward position, but Orla Smith was everywhere.
Brilliant.
She was setting up attacks, she was scoring, she was back in corner forward, she was back in corner back. She was just everywhere. And every time myself and Paul Fitzpatrick were talking about, towards the end of the game, standout players, we'd be just about to say Orla Smith and she'd do something again. She'd intercept a pass or whatever. For King's Court, wonderful for them to get to the final, as we said. Anya Riley at centre back was brilliant. The two midfielders, Aisling Callan and Dara Kieran, had good games. And in the forward line, Amy Rooney and Nicole Fleming, absolutely phenomenal. Amy Rooney, I think it is, that won an intermediate championship with Knockbride 2 years ago, and a player of the match as well in that intermediate final. She's a fine footballer. Nicole Fleming, I think she's played with the county as well at different stages. But, they're definitely a team going somewhere. You could see that, definitely. Leah Gray as well, there deserves a mention. Fiona Murray and Siobhan McGorry in the midfield for Drumgoon were excellent as well.
Absolute
It was a great
class.
game.
Then in the Kiernan Service Station Intermediate Championship final, it was Killigarry against Drumlane. Killigarry came away with the win here. Again, it's goals win games, because it was 6 goals and 9 points to Drumlane's 2 goals and 9 points. So it was a 27 points to 15, of a 12-point win there.
Yeah, this was a cracker of a game. Funnily enough, the guest for the junior, before the junior championship match, was Geraldine Smith, who was playing with Killigarry in the next match. She's the young player. She was reserved. She won the Ulster Minor Player of the Year last year, or this year.
Young Player
of the Year.
Yeah,
and she was the guest before the junior final. She went out and shook hands with them all. She came back up to the press area. I was having a chat with her, and I says, "Come here, just to let you know, Geraldine, I have a tenner on in Paddy Powers on you to be the first goal scorer at 4-1." And she goes, "Do you?" And I says, "Yeah, I do. Yeah, you better get." And she goes, "Well, hopefully I'll get on the ball in the first few minutes then." And what did she do? She got on the ball in the first couple of minutes.
Bang.
Actually, Drumlane went up and got the first score of the match. It was a point. The ball was kicked out, got down to Geraldine Smith. What a talent. Absolutely brilliant. Bang, goal.
She's brilliant.
Absolutely
she really
incredible.
Is brilliant.
She finished with 2 goals and 4 points, I think it was. Absolutely brilliant. Katrina Smith, her sister. I think it was Geraldine that got player of the match.
That's right, yeah, she did.
I actually, no offence to you, Geraldine, if you're watching, I thought your sister was absolutely outstanding. I would have given it to Katrina, because without Katrina getting the ball and kicking it into you, you wouldn't have scored them goals, just to let you know. But Katrina, she dropped back and played as a kind of a sweeper role, and she rolled. She was on the ball. She was carrying it from one 45 to the other 45, laying it off, getting it again, putting the ball in. Geraldine was brilliant. All the Smiths, Katrina Smith, Louise Smith, all brilliant. Niamh O'Shea, I have to say, what a player.
Intelligent use of ball.
Oh, left foot, right foot, left fist, right fist.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely fantastic to see, and her vision was absolutely brilliant. You couldn't not name most of the team. Rachel Talbot in the middle of the field. Courtney Rappel McDowell got in a lot of ball as well.
Smith started.
Grania Smith as well started. She was wearing number 17.
Forward.
She started a full forward for Ciara Keane. Grania ended up with 2 goals or 3 goals maybe, and a couple of points as well. She was excellent. Then on the Drumlane side, Ciara Maguire in goals, although she let in 6 goals. What a player. Yeah. What a goalkeeper. She had a fantastic game as well. It could have been an awful lot more, only for her. She's small in height. So I'd say if she jumped, she probably wouldn't touch the crossbar at all. Like, I'm not taking the piss.
You're right though.
But she was brilliant. I have to say, every ball that came in,
reaction
was great. Her use of the ball, she was absolutely brilliant. Looking down, Ciara Fitzpatrick, Ciara Ward, Michaela Fitzpatrick, the half back line were excellent. Brona Sheridan was phenomenal. And she really is top quality, left foot, right foot again. And then Anya Riley, but in full forward, Blonid Sheridan as well, absolutely brilliant. Drumlane, if they stick together, I tell you one thing, they'll be hard beaten in that intermediate championship next year.
Definitely. And then moving on to the
player of the match
was
Geraldine Smith.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant there. Moving on then to the Breffni Mushrooms Senior Championship final between Lacken and Lorgan. Lacken going in heavy favourites in this one, looking to retain their title for another year, but Lorgan had their homework. Going for 4 in a row, and Lorgan had their homework done. It finished 1 goal and 12 points to Lacken, 5 goals and 6 points to Lorgan. Goals win games, and but Lorgan really were well organised. You could see a definite game plan, a system of play all set up for them, and it worked, because you look at the Lacken forward line there, it's just littered with such talent.
Shona King, Roisin O'Keefe, Aoife Brady, Debbie Gaffney, Erin Galligan, Ashley Hyland. You know,
I don't think Ashley started. No. Actually, somebody was it Katrina Leddy?
I think it could have been Katrina Leddy
started instead. And they have such talent in their forward line. All you have to do is look at the previous results throughout the championship. You know, Lorgan had a game plan. Lorgan, managed by John Mulvaney and Finian Farrell. They obviously looked at the opposite and said, listen, if we go player to player here, we're just going to be torn apart. We need to bring the numbers back. And they set up the game plan, because from talking to some of the Lorgan supporters after, it wasn't as if that's the way they've played the whole way through the championship. They organised themselves specifically for the
final, yeah.
And the standout moment for me was Clara O'Reilly's goal. The dink over the keeper. She was on the 20-metre line, or a little inside it. The keeper was rushing out on her, Elaine McCabe, and she just chipped it over. And if the crossbar was here, the ball would have just gone like that. Yeah. It was just measured perfectly. The best finish of the weekend, men's or women's, by a long shot.
Yeah, Clara O'Reilly's, that goal was absolutely fantastic, and she came up and she did an interview with me afterwards, and
that's right,
you know, she could be a public speaker, she could definitely be a politician the way she spoke. But what a wonderful footballer and a wonderful girl as well. Like, but you know, it was riddled with great performances. Laura Kyogan getting a hat trick.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, a corner
what
forward.
What a lethal finisher.
Yeah,
but just brilliant. A brilliant game, and like, even though the scoreline shows 6 points in it, it was always close. You're always saying Lacken's going to come back, Lacken's got the experience, but Lorgan just kept working. Aoife Maguire in the middle of the field, for a young girl, I think she's still a minor, and she is in All-Ireland, or she's played with Ireland, I think, in basketball. You can see her ball skills are just of the highest order, and her ability to rise and catch ball in the middle of the field was brilliant. Like, she was up against Sinead O'Sullivan and Rosie Crowe, two of the best midfielders in the county, and she done very, very well there. So, and actually, standout performer for me was cornerback Ciara Brady for Lorgan. I thought she was in the running for player of the match there. Like, I thought her ability to read the ball coming in, get out in front of the player, gather possession and just lay it off simple. It was old school cornerback play, but absolutely brilliant by Ciara Brady. And
the player of the match in that one was Catherine Dolan, the wing half forward.
What speed!
Look, what a player as well, you know. And you know, you could have picked out any 1 to 15 on the Lurgan team, because they had to play so well to win that game, and they were going to need goals to win that game as well, because this Lacken team are very, very good as well.
Roisin O'Keefe had a very good game, in fairness, at centre forward.
Joanne Moore had a good game at centre back as well, but the goals, they just could not. And each of the Lurgan goals were so brilliantly taken.
Well organised, and I was saying on Northern Sound yesterday that it wasn't as if they were, you know, oh geez, there's a goal opportunity, we'll just take it. Instead of popping over points, they were looking for that last pass that might create the goal opportunity, and they really were.
They worked them through like a packed defence at some stages. You know,
I know it was brilliant.
Intricate play, bang, 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 and you know, some great goals.
It was absolutely brilliant, and we will have those videos up of all three finals at a later stage in the week, hopefully tomorrow or the day after. And what we'll do is we'll tweet out where you get the link to those games, and you can watch them on YouTube or on Vimeo there. So but our congratulations to Drumgoon, to Killigarry, and to Lorgan, and our commiseration to Kings Courtrum Lane and to Lacken. But our overall congratulations have to go to the ladies board.
County board, absolutely brilliant. What a day! Like, it's just such a success story. You know, watching as the first game was at 12 o'clock. At 11:30, we were getting ready for the junior match, and in fairness, I was talking to Carol Kieran, and she was a bit worried. There wasn't much of a crowd in the stand. By the time the ball was thrown in for the junior match, there must have been 400 or 500 people in the stand. And that was for the junior final. A lot of them would have had to leave after the junior final because there was to go up to the Kings Court game or to go or whatever. And then a new crowd came in, probably similar in stature, maybe 400 or 500 people for the Killigarry
I'd say there was a bigger crowd for there must have been, I'd say 800 or 900 maybe for the the junior game, and then it went back to about 500 or 600 for the Killygarry game. But then for the senior final, it just exploded. Like, it was as big as any of the senior men's games, and credit to the organisation, Carol Kieran, as we said, Lisa O'Brien, Mary Daly, too many to mention, and I can't just remember all the names, but they've such good workers in that Cavan Ladies board. You know, that's why Cavan Ladies football is thriving.
And they had guests before each match. The organisation had to bring the both teams back over to the side of the pitch, a handshake with the guest, and a lovely little bit of a speech made out as well for each guest that was brought in. You know, then they had the pledge, the ladies Gaelic football pledge that's read out, and then a Ron Naveen for the main event at the senior final.
It was absolutely
brilliant day. And when those videos are up on online, we will tweet them out to you. Get a look at them, because absolutely brilliant, and you might hear some commentary from ourselves as well. One thing I found as well, just on the games yesterday in Kingspan Breffni Park, we were there from 10 o'clock yesterday morning until 10:30 last night.
That's right.
We had to ring in a takeaway, so we did from Roma, and I just, after finding it,
the menu,
written down what we were ordering on the back of the programme.
Unfortunately, there was no salt in the chips.
There was no salt and vinegar in the chips.
Couldn't get over it. Anyway, so that finally brings us to the end of this week's show.
It was a long old show. This week's short show.
A long old show. But remember, if you want to get in contact with us, we'd be delighted to hear from you. You can email us on GaelicFootballViews@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook by searching Gaelic Football Views, or you can follow us on Twitter @GaelicFV.
So until next week, it's good night and
God bless.